tell me a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis, and possibly what's your annual vision or goal that you guys work towards?
So Gleaners actually runs 4 parallel operations. The traditional food bank is the one most people know, where we act as the wholesale distributor and in some cases direct provider of food to the food insecure across about a third of the population of Indiana in 21 counties. But we also are a produce distribution center operator for 39 food banks across 7 Midwest states. We also act as a natural disaster response site for Feeding America, one of about a dozen food banks around the country that when a hurricane hits in Texas or Florida, some such, we consolidate the response, food and non-food, and then dispatch that from here. And we also are a storage site for FEMA as part of that role. And then our 4th role is we're a contract reclamation center for Kroger stores in Indiana and Illinois. So 4 operations in parallel, the best known being the food bank role.
Most likely we may have some boomer viewers out there that have unique skills that aren't necessarily about walking food into Gleaners, and they are on a more higher level like an accountant or something like that, that you would, I'm sure, welcome with open arms to come and serve.
Absolutely. And increasingly we're looking at volunteer opportunities off-site. You know, historically, for example, as we had mobile pantry vehicles that would go out and serve in rural counties or places where we don't have enough brick and mortar pantries, it would be up to that host organization, or maybe only partially up to Gleaners, to find enough volunteers to distribute at that church parking lot at the rural edge of a county somewhere. So we call this the chute.
Okay.
4 lanes wide, one way east to west. Those refrigerated box trucks are really the backbone of the fleet.
Okay.
They'll do mixed routes where outbound they may deliver food to a food pantry, they may deliver supplies to a food drive location. On the way back, they pick up food drive proceeds, they pick up donated food at retail stores, they may make a run to a food plant or distribution center. It's sort of a mix. Clients will come in this way.
Okay.
There are 2 employees in this pantry. All the rest are volunteers.
I see.
So you'll have as few as half a dozen, as many as 20 volunteers that'll be at each station. So they'll start here with produce, then go on to meat. There's usually bread. And then if we have dairy or specialty items, they're down there at the end. And then the shelf stable is here.
How do you supply your inventory? Is that purchased or
right,
donated?
It's about 3/4 donated and about 1/4 purchased.
Okay.
So, and if you think about the 2 opportunities, say it's a $1 retail can, by the time you add multiple transportation stops, all the staffing equivalent and so on, it could have $4 to $5 of cost.
Sure.
When it's actually handed to the person, but it's $1 value.
So
give us $1 in cash,
right,
and we can go out and shop at General Mills or Kraft or Nabisco or companies that give us deep discounts.
Yes.
And it's leaving our building still less than retail cost. So it's dramatic. We can take $1 in cash,
yes,
and deliver $9 in value to somebody who's hungry. Or you can take a $1 can and it's 4 or 5 times the cost by the time it's delivered.
Yeah. I never thought of that.
So we are pushing, obviously,
cash
fund
donations,
drives,
yes,
not food drives.
Right. So if you really want to help and you want to make your money go further,
yes,
let's just write a check instead of going through the trouble of
Yep.
transferring food. So
Right.
boy, that's something I never thought of.
Yeah.
A real useful tip.
Actually, somewhat unusual that a food bank would have its own pantry, but also even more unusual, and this is a test, where our friends at St. Vincent have put in a clinic.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great.
So when people who can't afford to buy food come in here, they're typically skipping medical care or other things as well.
Sure.
They can get free care through St. Vincent. The setup on the other side of that wall is,
wow,
think of it like one of the retail stores, or CVS or Walgreens,
Sure.
where you have a couple exam rooms and a lab and so on.
I just think it's great that you're healing people while you're feeding them.
So every Friday,
Okay.
at 248 schools across our 21 counties, 9,000 and 9,400 backsacks are distributed to kids so they can eat over the weekend between school lunch Friday and school breakfast Monday. So you'll see there's a mix of items.
Hi guys.
It's got a mix of protein and so on in there. It's not meant to be full meals all weekend, but a supplement.
Yes.
For some kids, that is all they eat. The unfortunate reality is we're having to do this and give this to these kids at school because there's no adult involved in feeding that kid over the weekend.
John, I want to thank you for sharing all the wonderful things Gleaners does here in Central Indiana. This is Glenn Bill with Boomer TV.